Back again on the SportsMax Zone. Thanks for staying with us. American sensation Sha'Carri Richardson says she's focusing on the future and not the result after being beaten in the 100 metres at the Gateshead Diamond League meeting. This happened on Sunday in England. Richardson, who was losing for the first time this season, clocked 11.44 seconds to chase home winner Britain's Dina Asher-Smith, 11.35 in a race run in rainy and very windy conditions. Jamaica's Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce finished fourth in 11.51 in what was her first 100 metres race this season. Richardson, now I know what I need to go back and work on and what I need to get better at. This won't be the last time that I'm going to line up against these ladies. I want to let the world know and let the ladies know that I'm here to compete just as well as they've done for many years. I'm here to show them what I'm good at. I'm definitely looking forward to running in some sunshine next week in Doha. Joining us now, senior writer at SportsMax.tv and track and field expert Leighton Levy. Leighton, how do you think she took that loss based on her post-race comments?
I don't think she took it very well, but that's understandable given that she's been so dominant this season. 3 sub-10-8 runs, looking almost invincible, imperious even in many instances. So this was like a wake-up call for her that, against the really big guns, you have to really come with more than just a lot of... It's a big learning experience for her. And of course, I think she'll have a few more before the year is out as well.
It has to be said, though, that all 8 athletes, or 9 of them, ran in the same conditions.
Absolutely. But when you consider that she was beaten by somebody who was running her first 100 meters for the season, it was clear. Well, the thing is, from my perspective, it was clear that Dina Asher-Smith had a leg up on the field. When I saw her 11:45 in the preliminary round, in a minus 4.4 wind. If you should, for the listeners who might not know what that feels like, if you're in Jamaica and you go down to Ocean Boulevard, that wind that comes off the ocean on that street, and if you're anywhere else listening, if you're on the beach, for example, that's what the wind feels like to these guys. So that Dina Asher-Smith, who is not much bigger than Sha'Carri, was able to power through that wind. It tells you 2 things. One, she's a lot stronger than previously, because she did tell me last year, after she won the 200-meter title at the World Championships in Doha in 2019, that she was planning to get a lot stronger in the year ahead, and it proved itself. And it also shows that Sha'Carri is vulnerable because her start wasn't great. And when you look at the fact that, for example, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, who was also running her first 100, had an ordinary start by her standards. Her drive phase was pretty ordinary, and her transition she looked very tentative, and still was able to stay within touching distance of Sha'Carri, who was more race sharp than everybody else in that race, I believe. It is a cause for concern for her camp. It should be, in terms of how she executes against the really big athletes who are capable of running as fast as she is.
Yes, Leighton, and just now you spoke about taking the time to get strong mentally. How much of a role did that play in her performance,
Well, Maria, the fact is, to win a matchup like this with, the quality of athletes who are in this, it requires a lot of mental strength. It requires a lot of focus. And we've been seeing that from Dina for the last 2 years or so, when she became the first British woman, I think, to win the sprint double in many years at the European Championships in 2019, and of course winning the 200. When you look at the World Championships final, when she was second to Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, that was her PR in the final. You don't get to that level to bring your A game in a major championship final unless you're mentally tough. She would have spent some time in the off-season even working on that even more now, because she knows what she's up against, the likes of Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, the likes of Elaine Thompson, the likes of Marie-Jose Talou. You have to be mentally focused and not be worrying about anything else except what's happening in your lane. And she demonstrated that in a very, very prominent way in that race, because the conditions, as I mentioned before, were absolutely horrible. Yet she found a way to execute in those conditions and do well and win. She's obviously a lot stronger mentally, not just physically, but mentally coming into this year. And I expect her to run even faster this season. I would venture to say that I would not be surprised to see Dina run 10.7s at the Olympic Games this summer, or even before going into the championships.
It's clear to me that Dina Asher-Smith has turned a corner with that gold medal that taking her to another level. And I don't want us to overanalyze one race, and you are the first person to tell anybody that, yeah, you can't read too much from one race. But it is still a marker for assessment. And what I want to ask is this, because I don't want us to miss anything in looking at what happened in Gateshead on the weekend. Is it any coincidence, Leighton, that race, under filthy conditions, was won by the athlete in that race who right now is the best 200-meter sprinter?
Yes, it's clear. I mean, one of the things that, and I've said it before here, George, that the 100 meters is a race where you get to your top speed somewhere between 55 and 60. And the speed endurance, which means your ability to maintain your speed for as long as you can beyond that 60-meter mark. And the strength to do that is what makes the difference between winning and losing. What we saw from Dina here was when she got to 60, she was ahead. And nobody, if you've seen Sha'Carri's previous races, that's when she flies, because her speed endurance or lack of speed decay is what usually gives her the advantage against other athletes. But we saw here that Dina was able to hold her off quite comfortably, almost by a tenth of a second, 11:35 to 11:44. That's a city block in terms of the 100-meter sprint. So it speaks to her strength endurance, her speed endurance. And George, I know we've been saying a lot about Sha'Carri being favored to win the 100 meters at the Olympics in Tokyo this summer. But based on what we've seen, I know it's only one race, but based on what we've seen, given the conditions, Dina Asher-Smith is in that mix.
Sunshine, Doha, let's go to economics, ceteris paribus, all conditions held constant, right?
Yeah.
If these women report to the wicket and you expect them to run based on, of course, their ability and their preparation, what kind of outcome you are anticipating, especially given that, well, there's another question to follow after that. Answer that one first. Doha, sunshine, everybody healthy, what happens?
Well, Sha'Carri will go back to winning. The conditions will be more favorable to her. As I said last week before the race in Gateshead, Shelley is still race rusty. This is her first couple of races in a month. And you saw the rust in the final. In fact, you saw it in the preliminary round as well. So I think you go back to regular programming, because I think Sha'Carri, given the conditions, will be more favorable. The wind, I think, should be more favorable as well. She'll go on to win again, and she'll probably run even faster. She'll probably run 10.70 in Doha.
So that means it's a yes to the question I'm going to ask now, which is this. Given that it was, in horse racing, we'd call those conditions an off-track. It really was an off-track. People shouldn't have been running in that kind of weather, but it is what it is. Given that was the case, you're saying then that her camp's assessment of the race will be, okay, look, fret not about Doha. There isn't anything to fix. We're going to go to Doha, and we're going to go to Doha and execute what we had planned to execute in Gateshead and see if they can beat that. Would that be the mentality and the direction of Sha'Carri's team for her, an instruction going to Doha?
Absolutely. And they'll probably tell her that she needs to, well, obviously, her start is not the best part of her race, and that's something that they're going to have to continue to work on. I suspect that some of the focus will be on that in Doha as well. Get that start right, get those first 3 steps right, get your momentum going forward at the right angle, and then go out and prove to them that what happened in Gateshead was an aberration rather than the norm. Because I think it's important for her, especially her confidence, because you win and you win and you win, and then somebody punches you in the mouth, and then all of a sudden there are doubts that start to creep in. That in Gateshead on the weekend was that punch. Now is an opportunity for her to then step back up and prove that she can rebound from a heavy punch to the mouth and then go and continue to win, because she has the talent. But I suspect that her confidence might have been blunted a little bit in Gateshead, but given the conditions, I think she's looking forward to much better conditions in Doha, and she returned to winning ways, I suspect. I think we'll probably see a better performance from Shelley and Fraser Price as well, but it won't be good enough to stop her on the week on Friday.
Yeah, okay, we've got to leave it there, Leighton. And of course, we'll be looking forward to what happens in Doha with not only Sha'Carri Richardson, but a lot of the top athletes preparing for the Olympic Games, getting ready to compete. We go to break, back with the second zone update after this.